24 August 2020, and I'm joined by Mr. Jaison Midzi from the Zimbabwe People's Party. How are you, sir?
I'm very fine, Mr. Gambakwe. How are you?
Fantastic. And today we want to quickly go into the topic of Gukurahundi. You saw what happened this weekend. Idi Mnangagwa surprised everyone by striking a deal with the Matabeleland Collective. What is your view on that deal?
Yeah, I think it's a non-event. That deal is a non-event because Mr. Mnangagwa is, I can say, he is alleged to be one of the perpetrators of the Gukurahundi. So as a person who is alleged to be one of the perpetrators, he cannot start such an initiative.
Okay, so what is supposed to happen?
Basically, what is supposed to happen is it's something that can be started by the victims themselves, or it can be started by a neutral government or a neutral entity.
Okay, let's have some examples. Give me an example of such a process that has happened where the government was not involved.
Okay, what I want to tell you is, let me just take you to the blueprint of the Zimbabwe People's Party. The Zimbabwe People's Party was formed in June 2019. We were formed at a time when we knew that Zimbabwe is under sanctions, when we knew that Zimbabwe has so many challenges like this Gukurahundi issue. So, as a result of that, we have all these things in our blueprint and their solutions. So the Gukurahundi issue is one of the issues that is a hot topic in one of our documents. But what I can say is, let me say that I would want to acknowledge that our party is aware that there are atrocities which happened in Matabeleland. I also want to acknowledge that our party is made up of people from both communities, Shonas and Ndebeles. I also want to put a disclaimer that we said collectively as people in ZPP, Zimbabwe People's Party, from both communities, the Shonas and Ndebeles. And we looked at Zimbabwe from 180 years back, the time that Mr. Mzilikazi landed on Zimbabwe, that is in 1840, if you can check your dates, Mr. Gambakwe, up to today. So this is 180 years. And that means 2 generations. So as a party, we looked at what can work in Zimbabwe. And we looked at the 180 years of fighting and, mistrust between the two communities. And we found out that the best way is, if elected, we would look at an independent Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Now, when you look at a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, you are looking at a situation which puts together the perpetrators, the witnesses, and the victims, so that the truth can set everyone free. And we are looking at a situation in which we have also looked at some other countries in coming or arriving at that decision. We looked at South Africa. South Africa endured the worst violence in Africa, from the Anglo-Boer Wars to the Zulu-Boer Wars to the Anglo-Zulu Wars to the Mufekane and the Difekane, which led to King Mzilikazi migrating to Zimbabwe, King Soshangane migrating to Mozambique, and King Sobhuza migrating to Swaziland. So South Africans have been at the receiving end of violence of the worst case scenario. But their Truth and Reconciliation Commission, it did the magic. And today, South Africans are chasing one dream. They are united. We looked at countries like Argentina. You know, in 1976, there was a coup in Argentina. And in 1983, they did a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which helped Argentina to be the country it is today. We looked at Chile. They also had the same problems of dictatorship, which led to people being displaced and people being killed. And they did a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which helped. Next door again in Africa, we have got the Seychelles. There was if I can say, there was a coup in the Seychelles in 1977. And today in 2020, February, they started a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which is paying dividends. And lastly, I can give an example of where I'm sitting, Australia. There were so many acts that disenfranchised the Aboriginal people, the indigenous people of Australia. There were much worse atrocities in Australia. But in 2008, Prime Minister Kelvin Rudd, he stood up and offered an apology, and he started the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which is paying dividends. So yes, it can be done.
Okay. The question I want to ask you is, all the commissions in Zimbabwe, they report to Idi Mnangagwa. So if you do a commission, the report will be handed over to Idi Mnangagwa. What's the difference between that and Idi Mnangagwa running the process?
The person who is alleged to be the perpetrator cannot initiate a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. That has never happened anywhere in the world. If it happened, it wasn't successful. But in all the successful Truth and Reconciliation Commissions, like the one next door in South Africa, it was initiated by the victim, who is Nelson Mandela. So it's either the victim or an independent entity, like I said initially. So the person who is alleged to be the perpetrator, like de Klerk, F.W. Botha, they wouldn't have initiated it in South Africa. But it needed the victim, who was Mandela, and his people to initiate it. So in Zimbabwe, it can be initiated by the people of Matabeleland or anyone who is accused. We also see a lot of complaints from the MDC. Those people can initiate from a victim's perspective, or a neutral government like the Zimbabwe People's Party, who are offering this solution today, that there is no need to be fighting. We can continue to fight and mistrust one another, but still we can come to one table and start to chase one dream. And we are saying, because if you look at members of the Zimbabwe People's Party, our average age is 30 years old. Most of us is around 40, 41, 25, 26. So we were not part of this, and we would be the best political party to initiate this if we were elected into government.
Okay, I do not think the problem in Zimbabwe is information, because there have been reports before. Like, I think there's a report called Breaking the Silence, which has got details of victims. Don't you think people are mixing up issues between
people
checking discovering the truth and taking action?
When we talk about a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, Mr. Gambakwe, you don't piece or you don't take edited documents from different sources. You actually want the victims themselves to come to a court-like environment and speak out. You want the perpetrators to come and speak out themselves. You want the witnesses to come and speak out themselves in front of a commission, not just someone who is doing their own documentary, with their own agenda. That will not work. Look at the South African situation. The chairperson of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was Archbishop Desmond Tutu. And people trooped in different towns to give their stories, both the perpetrators, witnesses, and also the victims. So definitely we cannot talk about documentaries or whoever made their own story single-handedly or whichever way they did it, but people should come out into a court-like environment and speak out.
Okay, what about the National Peace and Reconciliation Commission? Is it sufficient?
It's not sufficient because it has been started by the alleged perpetrators. Because the alleged perpetrators have not left government. They are still running government.
Okay, so are we talking about a commission or a tribunal?
We are talking about a commission that is initiated by the victims or an independent entity or a political party that was not part of the problem.
Is that legal in Zimbabwe?
In Zimbabwe, it may not be. It means it's not the right time to talk about it. But when the time comes, the correct thing will be done. I told you that in 1977, there was a problem in Seychelles. There was a coup, but they are doing it today in 2000. But this is
that is the problem that I've got. That is the problem that I've got. It means right now the bodies which are buried are going to be lying in a bush while you're waiting for the right time.
They will never disappear from the bush. They will always continue to be there. But you can rush the thing and still do nothing. You can exhume the bodies and pretend to be burying them, but still not achieving the real goal of uniting people and creating a one dream and a one nation.
What if Mnangagwa wins in 2023?
That's what people want. It means people still are not ready to talk about Gukurahundi. They are not ready to talk about the issues of Itai Dzamara and other issues.
Okay, don't you think that the victims, for example, a child that doesn't have a birth certificate, they won't agree with you?
No, those issues are, that's the reason why we vote. We vote to ensure that all children have birth certificates. So that one is not part of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It's part of the responsibilities of the government of the day that we vote. They have to give people birth certificates. You cannot live in a country where people are not documented.
Is this not what Mnangagwa is doing? Because I think people don't understand what is happening here.
No, what Mnangagwa is doing.
Yes.
What Mnangagwa is doing is he is the reason why he was voted, to give people birth certificates. It's in the constitution. It has to be done. That has nothing to do with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. That has nothing to do with Gukurahundi.
Okay, but the children that want birth certificates are orphans because of Gukurahundi.
Yes, they can get their birth certificates, but the Truth and Reconciliation Commission is different from getting birth certificates.
Right, so are we splitting this process?
There is no process there. You know, when you are fulfilling your election promises, it's not talking about atrocities that happened during a certain time.
Okay. What if we say those who want to go through with Mnangagwa's process can go, and those who don't want can wait for the right time? Is that also another approach?
It's not an approach at all, because it's a national issue. When we talk about the truth and reconciliation process, we don't divide people. It's an honest process that brings trust and unity. So when you have one group going today and another group going tomorrow, it means there is no reconciliation there. There is no truth and reconciliation. The process has been breached already. It's no longer credible because there is division. The goal of reconciliation is to bring trust and unity between people who have not been united since 1840 up to today.
Okay, are we not discounting the Unity Accord between Joshua Ngoma and Robert?
That was a political unit which had nothing to do with the truth and reconciliation. It was like the GNU of the MDC. It has nothing to do with Itai Dzamara's case. It has nothing to do with the Tondera Indira's case.
Okay, so I think I've clearly heard you. And I think let's summarize so that I get the right conclusion. You said the process that Idim Mnangagwa is currently carrying out is not the correct process and it should not continue.
It may continue at his own authority since he is the president, but it's not going to produce results.
Okay. And you said the proper Truth and Reconciliation Commission can only happen after this Mnangagwa government is out of office.
Definitely, that's very correct. If people want a proper Truth and Reconciliation Commission, then the ZPP is there, Zimbabwe People's Party. I have explained what we are going to do. Like you can see, we've also looked at other countries, Chile, Argentina, Seychelles, South Africa, Australia, and many others, which went through the same processes, which had more horrific instances than Zimbabwe.
Okay. Then you said the process that will bring about proper truth and reconciliation, it will have to be a legal commission where people come and tell their stories in a formal and it gets documented.
In some cases, it's a legal commission. In some cases, like South Africa, it's just a commission where the perpetrators are not going to be, to be sentenced, like in South Africa. If you look at other countries like Argentina, the perpetrators were sentenced. So it's different. It depends on how you want to run it. But ZPP, because we're a party that believes in unity, we will take the South Africa way because it has paid dividends. South Africans and us, we share the same culture. So that one would be a template for us.
Okay. Late in 1987, there was an amnesty, which was declared when the dissidents came back from the bush. And the amnesty covered everyone, including the people who were in 5th Brigade. How is that going to affect this process?
Gukurahundi was a result of mistrust between ZAPU and ZANU, ZANLA and ZIPRA. They had their war, which spilled into the civilians, and they signed their truce and stood down their arms. But their process of stopping their war is not a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It's a different thing there.
Okay, so this process we're talking about is completely new and it's got nothing to do with what has happened in the past.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with what has happened in the past. It has nothing to do with, I can confirm that it has nothing to do with what has happened in the past.
Okay, then as ZPP, there are other atrocities that have been committed. For example, during the 2008 elections, What is your approach to those?
We are looking, the same commission is going to take care of Gukurahundi and these atrocities. And there are some which are still being perpetrated today. So we look forward to having an honest commission that will bring a unity and trust between the people of Zimbabwe. Let me tell you something, Mr. Gambakwe. Reconciliation, it has 3 pillars. The first pillar is what we call tribal relations. If we look at the situation in Zimbabwe, or race relations. So if you can have your tribes starting to trust one another, then you have done very well. Look at South Africa. You can be in a taxi. You see a Zulu and a Sutu arguing, and the taxi is going, each one with their language. You can't do that in Gweru. Someone will get offended that you are talking to me in Ndebele or that you are talking to me in Shona. So I'm just giving examples of where you stay, that it's happening. No Zulu will get offended that a Sutu is speaking their language. No Sutu will get offended that a Zulu is speaking their language. The second pillar of reconciliation is called equality and equity. You see where I'm coming from now. It now differentiates those things that you gave me, like the Unity Accord, the GNU, because after the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, you know, the Ndebele people have been complaining that we are marginalized. We don't have development in our area. So we need to have equality. We need to have equal distribution of resources with respect to what people want. For me to go and work in Australia or in UK, I have to pass an English exam because they want to see if I'll be able to communicate with the people that I'll be serving. Same applies. If I am from Mutare, I want to go and work in Bulawayo, I've got to pass a Ndebele exam. I've got to show competence in speaking Ndebele so that I can be able to go and serve the people there. It's vice versa. If I'm coming from Bulawayo, I'm going to Harare or to Masvingo. I have to show competence that if I arrive in Masvingo, I'll be able to speak that language and be able to serve the people. But still, it doesn't, me staying in Bulawayo, it has to be a choice. It doesn't have to be a must. Like you saw in the Zimbabwe we come from. For a musician to be successful, they have to move to Harare from Bulawayo. For example, Sandra Ndebele and whatever, Albert Nyati and the others. If you talk to musicians, they will tell you that we would only become popular if we go to Harare. You know, those are some of the small things that we may want to forget, but they are very important in people's lives. Let's level the playing field. Let's level our country so that living in Uzumba becomes a choice and the opportunities are the same. Living in Gwanda is a choice because the opportunities are the same. For example, when you live in Emelo in South Africa, the opportunities are the same as living in Velcom, same as living in Senegal, Ladybrand, or Musina. So that's what we are talking about here. And the last pillar is called unity. After that, you see that your people are now chasing one dream. That's why the South Africans can unite and fight you during xenophobia, but they cannot fight one another. They cannot even fight the white South Africans because there was a Truth and Reconciliation Commission which made them unite regardless of their race, regardless of their tribes.
Okay, I'm hearing you clearly, but that raises more questions for me. I've been talking to people this past week, and a few groups from Matabeleland feel that the commission must not have anyone who is not from the region. Is that something that should be considered?
I've defined what a Truth and Reconciliation means and who should be there. We saw it in South Africa. Winnie Mandela testified. De Klerk testified. So we need to, I respect what they are saying, but it will not give us the results. In the same way I said, I respect what Mr. Mnangagwa is doing, but it will not give us the results. The results will come when we have perpetrators, witnesses, and victims coming together to speak about these issues.
Okay, so the commission, if it is going to be independent, and the region demands that we don't want people from outside the region in the commission, what is going to happen then?
There is nothing you can do. It means people are not ready. When people are not ready, there is nothing you can do. You can keep negotiating. That's where we have countries like South Africa, which have gone through the same process. Countries like Argentina, Chile, countries like Seychelles. So those people can help to talk to the victims, to talk to the perpetrators, to talk to the witnesses, to say, look, we have passed through this. We did this in our country. This is what we did. On record, you can see in South Africa that Winnie Mandela, a victim, testified. De Klerk testified. I have talked about high-profile people, but everyone testified. And today, they are one nation chasing one dream.
So if you're saying if that demand is a sticking issue, then people are not ready for the process to begin, what should happen then? Because that is a very big sticking point.
Yes, what should happen is that we involve countries who have been through that. Like we said, we have South Africa next door. They can be helpful to come and talk to the victims to say, look, yes, you have this sticking point, but it will not give us the results. Because the reason why we do a Truth and Reconciliation Commission is for us to have unity and for us to trust one another. So if we continue to have marginalized thinking, it will not help us. So countries like South Africa, people like Desmond Tutu, Archbishop, can be of help in talking to everyone to show them direction, because we haven't done it in Zimbabwe. So anyone can always come up with a theory. But those who have done it like South Africa, where it was successful, can always guide us through. But what I've given you is the correct way of doing it. Victim, perpetrator, witness, sit together in the same room, talk about this, depending on how you want to work it out. But if people are not yet ready for that, then you involve other countries who have been through the same process like South Africa or Seychelles or Argentina or Chile.
Okay, so I think we have covered this in terms of the policy of the ZPP, and I want us to sum it up. Do you think we are ready?
I think at the moment, like I told you, that the current government is not the best government to initiate. So we're not ready.
Okay, so what should happen now?
People should vote Zimbabwe People's Party and have a government that will not favor anybody. A government that will be truthful, like I have given. This one, no other political party will talk about this issue, Mr. Gambakwe, because it will lose them votes. But in ZPP, we are not talking about votes. We are talking about the lives of Zimbabweans and the future of Zimbabwe. Our behavior today will determine the life that the people who shall live 300 years after us will lead. So if we make it right, then those future Zimbabweans will also enjoy and take us as a good legacy.
Right, Mr. Jaison Midzi from the Zimbabwe People's Party. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I think you made some very important points. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
I just want to say, just before we close, that we've got an issue where people think, especially from the MDC, they think they are not supposed to be asked the results wherever they are leading wards and constituencies. Us in ZPP, we simply believe in results. We ask results. We don't attack other political parties. We simply want, if an MP is voted or a councillor is voted, they should do their job. Their job is to fulfill election promises. So is a president. Their job is to fulfill election promises. Unfulfilled election promises means the voters should shun you in the next election. So whenever we are asking to say, what has Job Scala done in Zengeza West constituents? We're not attacking him. We are actually saying the people of Zengeza deserve water, deserve refuse collection, deserve electricity, continuous. That's what they vote for. They don't vote for quarrels. They don't vote for factionalism. So that's my last message for the day, Mr. Gamba.